Welcome to XReality podcast. I'm the host, Dominic Wu, and beside me is the guest, Nisha Burton. Hi, Nisha. Could you share a little bit about your background with us?
Absolutely, yes. Thanks for having me. So I have been in the immersive technology space for a long time now, as well as being a filmmaker. I found my passion in film first, and that was in high school. I really just loved how it brought so many creative mediums together. And so I went to college for film, but then I also, once I transferred colleges, first I went to Bard and then the University of Oregon, I transferred into the digital arts department. And by doing that, I really got a broadened toolkit where then I was working with interactive installations and immersive experiences, as well as branding and marketing, web design. So I was really thankful that I got that holistic education where I was learning film and storytelling, but also experimenting with um, different ways of telling stories and interactive storytelling, especially, and giving the audience a level of agency and interactivity. So once I graduated from college, I was freelancing for a while, and then I co-founded a company with a colleague of mine called Reflective Brands. And we started off as a traditional creative agency, doing a lot of branding and marketing, video production, web design. But then we really saw an opportunity to specialize in emerging technologies and have that be a way to help us stand out from the crowd. Our company was based in Portland, and so there's a lot of creative agencies up there. So being able to find a way to get into the market and seeing the potential of virtual reality experiences, augmented reality experiences for marketing, branding, and getting various we worked with like real estate, education, healthcare, so lots of different clients, but getting their stories told in these various mediums, along with then offering the traditional branding and marketing services. So we ran our company for about 10 years, and it was a wonderful experience. And in tandem with that, we did a monthly event series that was called Design Reality, where we focused on how these technologies could be used in various industries and really support the marketing efforts, but also just how they could support various business efforts. So it was a really exciting time and kind of like there's many waves of the hype cycles of virtual reality
Yeah,
and all
right.
the emerging technologies, but it was in an earlier wave, and then we saw another wave and another wave, and now it's really fun to have the AI wave coming, and having been in the emerging tech space as well as the film space for so long, I feel like I'm at a really cool intersection right now where we didn't necessarily predict that AI would impact the creative industries so much in the beginning, but now seeing how much it is impacting the creative industries and how both it can be scary, but also really exciting when harnessed in the right way. And so I do a lot of public speaking and teaching about generative AI filmmaking and how AI tools can be used for all of the various efforts. And I do a lot of consulting in those realms these days too, along with the emerging technologies and then
Mm.
my career in filmmaking. So that's a little bit about me.
Yeah, I do think that, yeah, just like you mentioned that XR has a lot of hype, right? And now is XR, we are finding the AI, right? Because if you see Snapchat, they launched their glass, and there are a lot of AI functions in. And also, you can see, for example, Orion, Meta, kind of like a keep telling or release a lot of data or a lot of marketing kind of message about how AI will be integrated inside of spatial computing. And today I just saw the news that Mark Zuckerberg want to challenge Apple and say, "Hey, we will beat you guys, for the spatial AI device, right? Because Apple right now is pretty much just stick on the phone, and it seems like their AI strategy was not as prominent. If you think of AI, right, you couldn't. Apple is not even on the list, right? So I think AI is a very interesting kind of like a tools that combined with XR, and it will make it such a powerful tools for a lot of things such as branding, education, healthcare, so on. Yeah, cool. So um, tell us a little bit about like XR AI for storytelling and filmmaking, and how do you integrate the tools into your work or your teaching?
Absolutely. Yeah, like I was saying, it's a really exciting time because I feel like it can greatly enhance your workflow if you approach it in the right way rather than being resistant to the next tools. And I feel like because I've been in the XR space for so long, I've experienced that resistance before AI even. There's a lot of resistance with VR and a lot of education that had to happen about how it's not about putting people, like, further into their insular experiences of reality,
Mhm.
but really it can be a powerful connective tool and give people a lived experience of
Mm,
the story you're trying to tell. So, talking a little bit about VR first with storytelling, what I really love about it is how embodied it can be and also how
mm,
there can be such a high level of agency and
mm,
interactivity. And so when I work with my clients, I really first talk to them about the why of why they want to put a particular story or piece inside of virtual reality or
mm.
augmented reality or what technology they want to use. Because for a while, when there's the hype cycles, everybody's like, okay, let's just make a VR experience out of it. But not all stories do the
Oh, right, right. I agree. I agree.
so it's yeah, so it's about understanding, okay, what part of the story do I want to put in this medium? I talk a lot about multi-platform storytelling and building out a story world
Mm,
that then say the part that works really well as a traditional 2D video can live
mm,
there. And then the part that is more immersive or that would benefit from being able to be seen in a spatial virtual space can live there. So one example that I have is I've been working on a multi-platform storytelling experience about AI in the near future, and the story centers around two women that are living in this town, and something is poisoning their town, and they don't know one of the women is, she works in the big corporation in that town, and the other one works, cleaning at the data center in that town. So, eventually, as it all unfolds, they find out that the data center is causing a lot of toxic runoff for their town, and they have to enlist the help of this evolved AI
mm,
to figure out how to find a solution for what's going on, as well as try and save their town. So this story takes place, like I'm saying, in multi-platforms. One of the experiences is a traditional short film where you're seeing the story unfold as you would see a movie. But then another part is an immersive dome experience. And so the audience all comes together in this shared 360 space. And I really like domes because they are
mm,
able to be in real time, everybody having the same experience, but then have that level of interactivity too. So the audience will sit down and then as the story is unfolding, there's different choice points where they all collectively vote what they want to do next or what they want to have happen next. And the story is a branching narrative. So as they vote, it shifts and it moves, and they're collectively influencing the near future of what will be happening. And in the dome, in the beginning, the women come from the short film, they
mm,
come to the dome space too, the same characters, and they say, hey, audience, now, and this time, we're coming from the near future, and right now you're at a choice point in our reality where things can go really well or really wrong. And so we need your help to envision a better future. The thought behind this whole project is that, yes, with AI and the emerging technologies right now, there's a lot of fear and there's a lot of feelings around that it's inevitable that this technology will go a negative way. And I feel like being in the media space, I see how most films do paint a very dystopic future.
Yeah.
And so with this project, we're trying to say, yes, we acknowledge what could go wrong, but also we need to envision what could go right. We need to envision a better future so that we can actually move towards that. Because what people can imagine, then they can create. So if they can't imagine a hopeful future with these new technologies, they won't be able to create them. So really that I know it's kind of a tangent, but that is how I feel that storytelling can live in these different spaces and can work really well to ignite different aspects of what the mediums are best suited for. And so, really, with these emerging technologies, thinking about how to give agency, how to give some levels of interactivity is very important as you're telling a story, but also having some kind of heroic journey in there, not having it just be static, but letting people go on a journey.
Yeah, yeah, I do agree that AI can help with, for example, decision making, right? And come up with some potential solutions, right? For example, if you have a like a chatbot, or like a, for example, like some professors will like students. There's a platform called Play Lab that's allows professors to create a lot of chatbot and put, your local data, because RAG is like a technology that allows you to create your local kind of like a chatbot. So you can upload your curriculum and all your local data, and student can practice, for example, biology, right? How to create a good hypothesis, and a student can keep practicing with the chatbot, and chatbot will tell you, oh, this is wrong. Why it's wrong? Try it again. So student doesn't really feel like embarrassed by, doing that. And just like you mentioned that, um, for example, you are imagining what's the future. Maybe an AI can help you imagine the future, and we can put a lot of more like a local data and prevent some dystopias things, and trying to lead the student in a good way. And if there's any, for example, like if you see right now, I think a lot of things that is I think the majority of people, we still want a good stuff, right? But there's always a couple of people that is leading the country that is doing the things that out of my mind. I saw like the older that wow, you take out DEI, or you take out inclusion, you take out everything and just want AI to move faster.
Yeah.
Is this better? Because it feels like the bad player, right? If you see some big tech, I don't say the name, but if you Google, you probably know which companies that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you see that they are feeding some not so good data into the chatbot. For example, like the nude photo, right?
Mhm.
Like a prom, or like a lot of like a not it,
Yeah.
for me, it's like why you are doing that. And it's interesting that a lot of tech uh leaders, right? Like the top super rich people, I think their idea is sometimes not really realistic, and not really, yeah, they are trying to create like a your girlfriend, or trying to make it like a sexy or something, and 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 even want them to be, your spouse or something. And I was like, is this too much? I don't know. But it is just like you can see like there's a lead for those people trying to create those product, and very influential. But I think that for us, we can trying to work on, since we are in education field, so we can at least, I feel like the good thing about being a teacher is that you feel like there's a hope. You are delivering good messages, and the younger people, they will deliver, they receive those good messages, and they will spread it out to potentially, the people around them. So yeah, so I think your immersive film storytelling is really meaningful. Yeah, just by leading or giving people to think how can they do better? Yeah, I think this is a very, very important and powerful tool, media. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think also like you're saying, um, people being able to see that they can have some agency in it all, because sometimes it can feel a bit hopeless, especially when there are big players in the tech fields or whatever that are pushing things in certain directions. But what I love about AI, and I feel like why it's taken off more quickly than virtual reality or other tools, is because of the accessibility. Because pretty much everybody and anybody with a computer has the ability to start working with these tools and to start accessing them and using them for their own products or projects, creativity. And so, yeah, that it came into the creative fields first too, and writing, with large language models and then generative AI. I think that is why it really took off because everybody could just easily jump in and start working with these technologies. Whereas
Mm.
with virtual reality, there's a little bit more friction there. You have to get a headset, you have to orient, you have to learn, and you're not as able to create in it either unless you know how to develop. But with AI, it really became this tool that so many people had access to, and I think that is why we've seen it be adopted so rapidly and move into so many different fields.
Yeah, yeah. And I think AI really can get into all the fields, right? For example, white column jobs before, for example, like a medical doctor or like a teaching, right? All the subjects. I just saw ChatGPT recently release a study mode, which I find out is very interesting because I was thinking about, yeah, I mean, a curriculum, right? Sometimes we need to create a small chatbot and put all our data in. Um, for me, I love to create a lot of AI tools. For example, I have a lot of sign up forms. For example, I recently launched my Udemy course, and I like to give my student coupons, and I use NAN to create a form that student put their data, right? And then later on, there will be an automate respond email sent to their email and with the code and tell them what to do. Instead of, I put a sheet and ask everybody to take it. I feel like by doing those more like give you something to do and you got the code rather than I put on on the canvas and
Mhm.
everybody getting. I feel like that's so cheap, but I feel like personalized, right? So I like to do a lot of interesting ways to integrate and also a local bot for a student. If they want to ask anything, they will get in and start typing, and hopefully they don't there's no hallucination. So I'm still trying to integrate a lot of AI bot. And I think those AI tools really, really helps um, like teachers become a little assistant for teachers. So yeah, so I think AI. I think everybody is trying to see how AI, just like you said, that is so easy. For example, you just know how to type and you
Yeah.
can, and it's 2D and it's not like a phone, right? Or headset, restrict. So I
Yeah.
think it's a very easy and it's really easy to develop. So I think that's why it's go very fast. Yeah. And what do you see, for example, like um, um, your background is in award-winning filmmaking and influence the way that you approach storytelling in XR. Can you give us like a how you how you craft something that is meaningful and using like a XRAI, what types of tools you use or what types of you mentioned you are teaching like a immersive storytelling in college, in university. What types of tools or what types of ways you encourage students to do more?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, even, when I was running my creative agency and talking to clients, and still when I talk to clients about they're wanting to do an XR experience, Like I said, the first thing that I do is ask the why question of why do you want to put it in this space?
Mm,
And then also, what is the story? Because I feel like sometimes with XR experiences, it can really be missing the story element and just depending on the wow factor of, oh, this is a cool new technology. Wow, this is a novel experience, which for a minute does grab people. But then it kind of start to lose interest because our brains are wired to make meaning and to crave story and to have transformative experiences. To really have an experience that people talk about long afterwards, there needs to be some story elements in there. And what those are a hero's journey, you know, being able to have some kind of external antagonistic force that is challenging the hero. And even with immersive technologies, with the virtual reality space, thinking about if you're going to have the hero be the person, the first person, right, that's
mm,
experiencing it, the user, or if you want it to be more of a third person, them watching this experience happen, which either can work. And, you know, in film, obviously, it's the latter, where you're watching somebody else have a hero's journey. The beauty of the immersive space is that you can give people a first person journey of being the hero. Either way, though, thinking about, okay, how am I going to build in these different story beats in my experience? How am I going to have something that is going to challenge the hero, that is going to challenge the user, that they're going to have to overcome, that they're making some kind of external as well as internal shift to really go on this journey where they're different from the point that they started the experience to when they ended it. So, for example, going back to the dome experience I was speaking of,
mm,
having the audience have this level of agency, they really do, in a sense, become the protagonists. However, they're also having these guides of the two women that are from the narrative story come in and talk to them about, okay, we need to make these decisions, and there's these different choice point moments. But then it is taking them through a heroic journey, and it's taking them through the different beats of a story where the hero must decide which path they're going to take in each moment. And the story can end in a tragedy if they do make decisions that don't go towards evolution and growth, but instead stay the same, stay stagnant, or go in a wrong direction. And that's what I love about branching narratives and being able to have interactive media is you can really kind of like those choose your own adventure books back in the
mm,
day, you can really have these choice moments where then you are deciding and seeing the outcomes of your choices. And so then when you get to the end, if it's a heroic journey, you're like, oh, I made the right decisions. Me as the protagonist, I forged through to a pathway for a better future. Or you can say, oh man, this future is not looking so good. I made some choices along the way that led towards this outcome. So I think that's really powerful. And then to get into a little bit more of the tools side of it and the technology side of it, what I really love about AI right now too is how much it's helping my creative workflow at being able to do projects that otherwise would be a huge scope, a really big budget in a way that is beautifully executed, but also not as costly is so exciting. So I've been playing around and experimenting with for this Dome 360 space. Um, Developing out the 360 environments using generative AI,
mm,
the Blockade Labs tool that they have, and then also the characters, working with them through generating the characters in Midjourney, and then animating them using Runway and like having the voice acting then propel their action, their acting, and then being able to key them out from the background or put them on green screens.
mm,
And then you can extract the depth map out of them. So if you want to have a little depth in there too, and then having all these assets that can also go into the VR space, but
mm,
being able to do what before would take a huge team with a much smaller team. And AI can also really help with story too, you know, as
mm,
you're thinking out and iterating on what you want the story pieces to be. I used Claude to help me create a branching narrative, and I told all the points and the beats that I wanted to have happen, but branching narratives can get really complicated because you need to both have the choice points that actually lead to different moments, as well as false choice points that lead to the same scene, but convincingly all go to that same place and then branch out. And so it gets very complex, and having a large language model like Claude be able to think through it with me was so helpful. And then like story points too of like, hey, I want to take him in this direction. What do you think of this? Or even imagining in the near future, what would be some toxic consequences of a quantum computing data center. So there's so many ways as storytellers that these technologies can really enhance your workflow. And that's what I always try to speak with people about, especially if they're more skeptical or hesitant to play with these technologies.
Mm,
Um, is that, of course, yes, let's think about the ethical and all of the things that could go wrong.
mm,
But at the same time, play with it for yourself and see how it could really help you in your own creative process, not replace you or not replace, but amplify your work and make it so that sometimes I feel like I'm have superpowers now because of all my.
ah. Yeah, I totally agree. May I ask you like a Claude because I used to use like a Chat GPT, right?
Mhm.
What's Claude? What types of like for example, in storytelling wise, what chatbot do you think is the best? Because you mentioned Claude. Claude, what's the you mentioned branches? How to use that? This is the first time that I heard of.
Yeah, yeah. So I like both Claude and ChatGPT, and I feel like they have slightly different personalities, so to speak, in what they're good
Yeah.
at, and what type of thinking that they're good at. And I feel like Claude is really good at systems thinking in some
Oh.
ways, and being able to like think through complex things. I also use it to help me when I'm designing out courses to think through, okay, so what should the different modules be and what should I talk about? And so using it again for the branching narrative too,
Mm,
just I find that it's a little bit better at really thinking through these complex systems, and then having the output be simple, understandable, and also creative.
mm,
It does a really good job with creativity and the way that it puts together language. So, yeah, I really like Claude, and then I like, ChatGPT for other things. I really like, with the story elements, sometimes I find that ChatGPT does a really good job of helping me, like, I was thinking through the near future of, okay, this quantum computer and what could be some implications, and it went back and forth with me and, like, developing out these different story points or these different ideas of how it could go, so I really liked it for that. So I use both, and I kind of go back and forth and I say, okay, for this particular question or workflow that I have, I think Claude would be really good to help me organize it, to lay it out in this particular way. And now I want to talk through this thing. I want to work it out back and forth. I think GPT is better for that. But I encourage people to play around with both and see how they're slightly different. And it's nice now because most large language models out there, they have a free version, and so you can just like play with it and try it out.
yeah, and how about Grok, DeepSeek, and Perplexity? What do you think of those other chatbot or llama?
I know there's so many out there, and I actually haven't tried all of them, so I can't say too much. I mean, Perplexity, I just was playing with a little bit, but I think each one is uh it has its kind of like corner of what it's really good at, and so just understanding and learning what the different ones are particularly good at for the chatbots, then I think that helps with the selection process, but also just like having one and sticking with it. I think they all do a baseline good job, and
Yes.
so it's like if you feel overwhelmed by doing this chatbot for this and this chatbot for that, then just like having say just GPT, it'll do what you need. And so, yeah, there's also that.
Yeah, yeah, I do agree because I think a lot of chatbot, for example, recently I saw Grok 4, according to Elon Musk, like announced like at the kind of meeting. He said that Grok 4 is the most powerful on Earth, and later on ChatGPT released like a ChatGPT 5. It's not released yet, so it's if I feel like it's like a going around the table. Every time when there's an announcement, it will say, "Oh, this is the world best." So far, the model, and later on, there after like a couple of weeks, there's another company announced
Right.
their new one. So wow,
I find
yeah.
that with the generative AI tools too and generative video tools, because I've been all along following with that, obviously, because I'm a filmmaker. But it is like an arms race in a way where one will, like, I remember when VO3 came out and it was so amazing, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, this is like the most amazing thing." But then next tool will come out, like when Midjourney, they introduced their animate feature, which I've been playing with a lot. I'm like, this is so great and amazing because now I'm able to just generate my videos right from my images directly in Midjourney. And then, next one comes out, Kling does a new announcement and they have their next model. Or Runway, they just announced their next model that does a really good job of like restyling film footage that you're working with. I'm also working with a company called Moon Valley, and they have Mary, which they're releasing now, and it's really focused on generative video for filmmakers and for the creative community, and a lot of the features that they have and the way that they lay it out is very oriented in that direction. And so I feel like similarly with the chatbots, just figuring out what you're trying to do with
Mm,
generative AI, that can help narrow down, okay, I want to use this particular tool or I want to use this model, because there's so many out there and they're constantly evolving. And so there's no one that I'd say is like the best, because as soon as one is the best, then the next one comes out with their new model, and then it's the best.
yeah, I totally agree because every day I find out that every day there's always new things that
Yeah.
I have to learn. Like recently, I am so fascinated in NAN. Yeah,
Mhm.
and I was like, I just purchased a Udemy course, and I just like, oh, let's try it. Let's see how it goes. And I create a form that allows my student to sign up the office hours, and they will, once they sign up, their information will be on my Google Sheet,
Right.
Google Slide. Yeah, and so every time I can check, and also there will be email respond and tell student, remind student, hey, what time, and this is the Zoom link. Yeah, so it's pretty much just like assistance work, right? I can totally do that, but it's just like oh, every time I need to follow up. Once they do something, trigger something, right? And I also want to do a lot of interesting like a test, just to use NAN. And I find out, wow, I can pretty much, cancel a lot of subscription if I can figure out all the models. And they have a few thousand of templates free, and I can just plug in and play. And I just
Yeah.
feel like this world. And recently I just checked like, oh, text to video or
Mhm.
text to 3D. I think that this part is start getting more and more like a free template. So maybe in the future you can plug and play, and you just type whatever you want, and at the end there will be a video. It's pretty cool. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, it's definitely going that direction. And like you're saying, right now there are so many different tools to pick from. And so I feel like there's value too in finding one that, like you're talking about, that can do most of what you're wanting to do and getting really good at that and not getting too overwhelmed with like, oh, I've got to try this one now. I've got to try this one now. There's also marketplaces where you get access to the various generative video models, and you can try them all in one space and just select between them. So I think that's a good route to go too. But yeah, being able to find which tools will best support your workflow is really what it comes down to. And then when people are just getting started with AI or feeling overwhelmed by it, I ask them to just tell me one problem that they're having or one work thing that they do that they'd rather not be doing, and then we can hone in on, okay, well, this is going to be the right AI tool for you to offset that time that you would spend otherwise doing this task that you're not excited about doing. So with creatives too, I try to encourage them that way of, it's not about that you're going to replace your creativity or that you're going to take it away. No, think about it how you can enhance your creativity. For me, working with Midjourney, it's coming from like a digital arts background where I'm doing a lot of my digital collages using Photoshop and Illustrator. It feels kind of like the next iteration of that, where it's
Mm.
not about now I'm just having this cookie cutter style or now I'm just like making things and it turns out at the click of a button. No, it's a very iterative process and figuring out how I can communicate to Midjourney to get the output that I want, and also how I can continue to refine and build on the styles that I develop. I have a really collage aesthetic, and recently I really came to a style that then I use as the style reference for a lot of my generations. It's very collagey and looks amazing, and
Mm.
it's so exciting to see how I'm bringing my own unique creative aesthetic into this generative AI space and then being able to animate it too and bring it to life in a video space.
What types of animate tools are you using?
Yeah. So, like I was saying, Midjourney just introduced their animate feature where then right from the image that you generate, you can click a button and you can either have it just go for it and see what it creates, or you can enter a prompt of what you want to have happen. But then I also have been using Mary, like I was talking about, and I'm teaching lessons in that, tutorials on how to use that particular model. And for that, it's, yeah, very cinematic and typing in the prompt of what I want to have happen and creating stories through it too. I've
Mm.
have this short film that I've have the script for that I've been wanting to produce for a long time, but just not had the funds to. And so recently I
Oh,
made a teaser trailer for that short film
cool.
to get people excited about it using generative AI so I can raise the funds to produce it in a more traditional way, but that's an example of how I'm able to do it. And then Runway I've used a lot too. And Runway is nice because they have many different tools built into their platform. And so they have the green screening, the AI like keying right within it. And they have the voice to text and or the text to voice. And they have the animate where you're able to bring it's called second act, I believe, but you're able to like bring the character to life using the text that you have. Um, and yeah, so that's another tool that I use to be able to, with my filmmaking um, areas, bring them to life and bring the generations that I make, the image generations to life using those tools. And one other thing I'll say that I've been doing a lot too is using generative AI for VFX, which is so
Oh.
amazing. It allows you to do things that otherwise you would have to pay a lot of money to a VFX studio for.
What tools are you using
Yeah,
for
yeah.
VFX?
So, um, again, I have been using Runway quite a bit, and what I'll do with that is they have the keyframes that you can use, and a lot of Kling has this as well. But I'll take, say, for transitions and VFX transitions between one shot or one moment in the shot and another, I'll take a still shot of one moment, one frame within my video, and this is like 2D traditional video footage, and then I'll take the next one and then I'll type in the effect or transition that I want to have happen, and then it will generate that. I know Higgs fields, I haven't played around with them too much, but they just rolled out a really great generative VFX next iteration on their model too. And there's a lot of ones out there that, yes, you're able to add. I think Runway also, they just added a feature where you're able to type in, say you have somebody that has their hand out and then you want flames to go around it. So you have the original video footage and then you type in, I want flames to go around this person's hand, and then it will add that in the export. So it's really exciting. And again, I want to caution away from taking away jobs. And I think on the big scale, it's hard, like with studios, it's definitely that's going to happen. But on the smaller creative scale, it's
Mm.
like I wouldn't have the funds to be able to hire somebody anyways to do these things. So being able to actually bring them to life myself is really empowering. And then I can raise funds for my feature length projects or for my film projects and then be able to hire all the creatives to do it. But it's a really great prototyping tool or fundraising tool to get your vision out there.
Wow. So, you previously you mentioned cherry, like what's what's that called? Cherry Studio or what's that
Oh,
one?
Mary.
Oh,
What
Mary. How to
Yeah.
spell it? I
Marey, yeah. And they just launched recently. And yeah, I've been working for them to create these tutorial videos around their tool. And it's fun because it is very geared towards filmmakers. And also they licensed all of the footage and materials that they received. And
like, wow. I think it's that's really rare. You know, I like right now everybody just like a ripped up.
a cap, yeah, that's a distinguisher that they have that I feel really good about aligning with because as a filmmaker myself, it's like, yeah, you don't want these models trained on your material without you giving consent, and then they're, making money for somebody else or out there using your materials. So I think that they did it really right to have, what I call like an ethical model that's being put forth of how creators can be paid and can be empowered and also have then their material input into the various models and then be able to create amazing things off of that. So yeah, so there's good things happening out there in the world right now.
Yeah, yeah. I do think that it's called Marey, right?
Yeah,
Marey.
by Moon Valley. Yeah,
Moon Valley. Wow. Yeah, I went to the website. It looks like a really futuristic and very, black and white, and it's really beautiful. Yeah, it looks like a high end. And I saw like a Netflix right now is it seems like they are using a lot of AI or a lot of storytelling. And when I saw those movies, like some clips of they use AI, I couldn't tell because it merged so well. And if you see that actually for the filmmaking, it's pretty much green screen and trying to fake the director has the entire storytelling line, and it's just the different shots that need to accomplish that visual effects. So, rather than spending a lot of money to accomplish that, you use Gen AI to accomplish that. I think it's really reduced a lot of production fee.
definitely. Yeah, and I think it will in the near future also impact how stories are told, which is kind of what I was talking about earlier. But I think we will see a lot more interactive media and
Mhm.
interactive stories, even in the 2D space, because now you're able to quickly or in real time, like generate out other options for gaming too. It's going to have a big impact, but having the user drive the story a bit more because it's able to be produced from their input or from their choices. So that's going to be really fascinating to see again how this intersection of the worlds that I've been in of the more interactive media meets the more traditional linear filmmaking. Um, and and I think there's a big movement towards this co-creativity in general
Oh,
in
mm,
our world where people are more and more empowered to be creators. Like, that's a whole industry, right? To be an influencer, to be a creator, and that there's more and more tools that allow people to quickly create and bring their stories to life. And so sometimes it can feel overwhelming, like, wow, there's so many more people out there making content. How do you ever get seen? But on the other hand, I think it's really empowering because people are able to tell the stories that live in them that otherwise they wouldn't have been able to access, a few years ago. And I even think of the turning, because I've been in film for so long, of when
mm,
film, like the technology, the tools, the cameras were so expensive and
yeah,
few people could have access to making films. And then also the ways of distribution were so limited and you really had to know somebody or jump
yeah,
through to ever get your content out there. And I'm, the age that I am, that I got to live in the time where that really turned. And the technology, the cameras became so much more inexpensive and very accessible to everybody. Even like your phone nowadays, shaking cinematic footage. And also the distribution places really opened up and, online people are able to distribute. People are able to grow a following on their own, to have their films seen by many. So I feel like this is kind of just the next evolution in that process where it's like, yes, now more and more people are empowered to be creative and to bring their stories to life, and there's more channels to get those out there. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes and how people, I feel like the content is going to get so much more curated towards your interests, and you'll find creators that are making stuff that you're interested in.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree with you that right now is all the creators are empowered, and I usually use the term which is permission needed or doesn't need permission to do things. For example, like I really really like a lot of online platforms that allow me to publish my course. For example, I am recently I published a course on Udemy. It's called AI Pipeline for designers and artists.
Nice.
So it's pretty much using AI, and later on you can use kind of like all the AI tools to prepare all your assets and put into Unity, and then export to a Mixreality app. This concept I really want to teach at community college. So I talked to the dean, and then it's layers of asking permission. And then I remember I submit the idea. I talked to my supervisor, just like a chat, like, hey, I really want to create this course, and I can, it's already in my mind. I am in the process of production, and if I can get a chance to teach it, that would be really benefit because I taught Unity course, but it's more like a for game, for 2D game.
Mhm.
People are really, really excited and they want to learn XR. They want to learn VR. So I talked to my supervisor, is there any way I can increase one course for me just to teach XR? And my supervisor said, I need to talk to the dean and then submit the form. And then I remember it comes back to, it seems like uh, the dean still thinking about whether this works or not. Like there's a lot of thinking. Yeah, so I need to show the proof that this will success. So I was like, how can I even prove this will be success if this is just a proposal? And people just keep waiting. And then it seems like in order to get there, you need to get through, a lot of people approve, including academic senate. If there's like, I don't know, like a one course open or something, it's just like a lot of steps, onions, you know, and everything for education, everything we are talking right now, it will happen in a year. It's like, I don't,
It's such a good point that you're making where these like the university setting, which I know we're both in the university as well as the online teaching setting,
yeah.
and how, yeah, these bigger structures, they move a lot slower. And with how quickly these technologies are evolving, that makes a lot of friction because it's like, well, if you want to teach this course now, in a year from now, it might be very different. And so to be able to be very nimble in education. And I feel like education has shifted a lot too, where people are now going to the online space and learning from online courses a lot more. I also teach a lot of online courses and have some on Udemy, as well as Skillshare has been a really big space that I teach on. And I was a part of their Teach Lab program. And yeah, what I love about it is just like you're saying, being able to have a really timely and important topic and just do production on my own and then get it out there and send it out to my students in a quick and easy way. And I think universities are great too, and the environment that it creates is
Yeah.
really nurturing for students. So I think both have their place, but it's true that the university setting, it moves slower and there's a lot more approval, and kind of like with filmmaking too, like there's a very narrow path
Yeah,
forward.
all right.
Whereas, yeah, in the digital online space, the path forward is so much
Yeah.
odd.
Yeah, I do agree. So that's why for me, it's like, wow, just waiting for the approval. It just take years. And I told, everybody that, okay, I'm going to do it. It's just too slow. Once it's approved, everything will change. So it's just, yeah. So that's why I create that, and I will give my student like, coupons,
Yeah.
and it's more like helping them to learn because, students always want to move to what's next. And
Yeah.
also they want to, I personally think right now is so hard for students to get any offer right now. So
Mhm.
just like you said, and also, we all think that in the future, it will have much more freedom
Yeah.
for people to publish their content and much small, a budget, right? And you can and smaller team. So maybe student doesn't really need to, follow our all traditional paths that you have to, get a job or, all those things. So how do you like teach students regarding to their career preparation? For example, hackathon or create a lot of really cool portfolio or just start your own thing. Yeah. What do you suggest?
I think you're hitting on something, which is that we really are going into a more entrepreneurial age in some ways.
Mm,
It's
yeah.
already been moving that direction. But when I teach classes too, obviously I'm teaching the tools of the time, but like we're saying, a lot of those will shift and change very rapidly. So by the time they graduate, it might not be the same tools that they're using. So what you need to be training in is developing out your ability to navigate the changing landscape and to know how to
Mhm.
be a self-starter, to know how to pivot and to have a diversified enough skill set that you're able to kind of play many roles, which is what I've done most of my life because I have been an entrepreneur. I, have been a co-founder of my agency. I had to wear many hats while doing that.
Right.
And I have a lot of interests. So I do a lot of different things. And I feel like that's positioned me really well in this current time
Mm,
because I'm able to see from various vantage points and understand how the pieces fit together and
mm,
then bring them together. And that can be from hiring certain people to play the different roles. It can be from seeing which AI tools will work in the full scope of what I'm trying to do, but
mm,
being able to see a project through from the ideation to the production to the final delivery point is really helpful. And even if, a student that's listening to this, if they are super specialized, that's fine and that's good to have your particular focus in the area you work in, but learn about what other supporting roles are being played and how the different pieces fit together so you can understand if you do have to pivot, if there is a career path that you're going down and then that is replaced by AI or shifted by AI, see what complementary or what other areas of work you could go into that would be building off of your skills, but also
mm,
related to them. And then the other thing I talk about is personal branding and understanding how important that is. I come from a branding background and work a lot with my clients on developing their brand. And really, at the core of the brand is the story that you're telling and like
mm,
the visual aesthetic elements that play into that story. And so, understanding for yourself too, okay, who am I as a creator of whatever type of creator you are? And I use creativity in a really broad way as a term. I don't mean just the arts fields, but I
mm,
think that scientists are creative. I think that doctors are creative. So whatever creativity you have, think about what your identity is in that,
mm,
what your
mm,
story is behind that, and then also how you present yourself in the digital landscape, making sure that it's cohesive, making sure that it is building a story, that it is setting you apart in some way, so that then when you're applying for jobs, if that's the route you go, applying to work with different companies, you can really stand out and
mm,
have your portfolio curated in that way to tell a story because you can have a lot of different pieces of what you've done and the work you've done that don't really fit together. But if you
mm,
have a really beautifully streamlined story and a really strong why of why that company should hire you because you fit well with their company culture, you fit well with their brand mission, then you're already positioning yourself to move into that company and to be a really good candidate. And then similarly, if you're going more the entrepreneurial route, really thinking about, okay, what's going to set me apart for clients that I approach or for the type of work that I want to do? How I going to stand out? Like I said earlier with our company, we started as a creative agency doing traditional branding and marketing, but then we saw, okay, there's so many creative agencies out there, and there's ones that, are way more established than us. There's
Mm.
ones that can do things for cheaper than us. So how are we going to set ourselves apart? And that's when we went and specialized in the XR space because we're like, hey, actually, there's nobody out there right now that's doing a creative agency this way in Portland right now. So that's a
Mhm.
niche for us to fit into. So figuring out what you do well and then how your specialties or your special skills, your special sauce can really set you apart and get you in front of people is so important.
Yeah, yeah, I do agree with you that right now it's a very interesting time that it seems like we got so much, empowered for so all the tools that currently we have, and a lot of them are free, right? I remember I just recently read a news that a lot of consulting firms like the top tier consulting firm. Right now, people doesn't really need a consultant just because you see the chatbot can really help you solve a lot of problems. So
Yeah.
how can we before our parents or us, right? This types of paths probably is about to going to the end. And there's another new one, for example, like entrepreneurship, just like you mentioned. I remember I read another kind of like a education style. It's called Alpha School.
Mm.
Alpha School, if you Google it, it's currently the headquarters is in Texas. It's a K-12 school. The school was so innovative. Students get to the classroom and everybody have a personal computer, work with AI and learn academic for 2 hours only.
Wow.
2 hours, just
Mm.
2 hours, very focused, working with AI, and they don't have teacher. And later on, after 2 hours, there will be so-called facilitator. They don't want to say teacher because teacher there's an authority types of a hierarchy there, right?
Yeah.
And then they have facilitator and take all the students go out and start solving the real world problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then later on, for example, go to the supermarket and see what problem they can solve. I think this is fabulous. It's like it's the ideal education for the future. And then
Exactly.
when student come back and student will figure it out how to pitch to the store owner or decision maker, how to solve the problem.
Mm.
They are just K-12, you know, just elementary school. Hey, yeah, I was like, wow, this is like something that even, a lot of professors, even doctor degree are trying to do that, right? You see like a YC or like a lot of interesting book came or, startup facility. It's doing the same thing as that school.
Yeah.
Like solve the real world problem and create a product that everyone wants. So
Yeah.
yeah, for me, I think the next generation and in Bay Area, the middle school, they have something called middle school college or something.
Mm.
Um, which allows high school, middle school to register college's course, and a lot of them are entrepreneur uh, program.
Mm. Mm.
Um, Now high school kids, I saw a couple of high school kids, they are very ambitious. I even got reached out by some high school teachers. They want their students to, work for me as
Mm.
my little assistant to see like, oh, how XR works. And I even saw the high school, their resume. I was like, wow, high school that start seeking for internship and start trying to build something. And I find out that, wow, the world is starting getting very different from what we used to know. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're making a good point that there's a shift from more theoretical knowledge, which is a lot of what education was before, where people are kind of learning, yeah, like the theories behind things or like the abstract and then putting it together. But now we're getting push towards more like tangible firsthand experience knowledge. And I think that's so important because it's true that things are moving so quickly that people really need to understand how to be thinkers in a certain way and problem solvers. And to be a thinker and problem solver, you need to be able to see what areas in the world or your interests are still having friction points, are still not working as well as they could, and then coming up with solutions, creative solutions for that. And I think it can be very exciting and creative because, again, looking at what your particular skill sets are, but expanding it out from being very, very focused, where it's like, oh, I'm good at this one thing, to,
Mm,
oh, well, this one thing that I'm good at, the skill behind that is actually critical thinking, or is actually like visual seeing and being able to put things together really beautifully visually. So then seeing that skill behind the skill that you've specialized in, you can see where there's adjacent possibilities of what type of work you could do.
mm,
And yeah, with my students too, really encouraging them to not get so hyper fixated on the tools that they're using, although that's great, but those might change. But okay, what are the, like I'm saying, these skills behind the skill that you're really good at? Say if it's somebody that's doing sound on films, that might shift, doing the sound mixing. AI is getting better and better at that.
yeah.
But okay, you have a really good ear, you're really into the aesthetics of composition or sound or how to pull things. So you can work with AI, you can work with these tools in order to be able to develop out soundscapes or develop out music, or, whatever your skill is, then being able to broaden that out a little bit so that then you have more options and more possibilities. And it can be a very exciting space because then you're seeing, oh, I'm not limited by this creativity or this one thing. I actually can expand far beyond what I was even doing before, while still having the original um, creative impulse alive.
Yeah, yeah. I think right now, our entire life is pretty much augmented by, or like enhanced by the very powerful tool. I usually call AI as a collective intelligence of the entire humanity, right? It's and I usually refer that in the future, everybody will be cyber man, cyber woman, cyber boy, cyber girl. So which means that we have that, in the future, it will be wearable. It's so close to our eyes, and or it will be implemented into our brain. I don't know how it works, but pretty much whatever we want, we think, we will have a super big intelligence that we can reach, ask, or brainstorm together to come up with the result that is much, much better than us. And I think this will be the future, and we cannot go back. We can just move forward. So yeah, the earlier we adapt this and just create a lot of powerful tools to help us to grow as as our, I would say, for example, you want to be creator, you want to be doctor, right? Using all the tools to help you to do better. I think that's the career, because I personally don't think there's any types of fixed things. Because today I just saw my LinkedIn. There's an influencer said that maybe in the future, because it's just so, if you see, because every day when I look at LinkedIn, there's always like a provocative thinking. I remember, I don't know, Meta or whatever other company, it seems like they are allowed Gen AI tools be part of their developer interview for their, because when doing lead code, which all the developer need to get through the coding test, you can bring Gen AI tools. Wow. Yeah, vibe code. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I think that's such a good point, that it's not like we were talking about earlier, but rather than being restrictive around AI, or like, oh, don't use just because it's cheating. It's like, well, no, this tool is out here now. This is what people are going to be using. And so
Yeah.
smart employers, like you're talking about, and smart teachers too, are teaching people how to utilize it in their workflow because then they're actually getting more productive and more effective employees when they work together with AI. Um, and something that I thought about earlier too is for students that are like freshly coming out of college or going to be graduating soon, or also for people that have been in a certain career path that are wanting to shift or that are needing to shift because, they've been laid off or an AI tool has replaced them or whatever.
Mm.
Using AI to help you think through your career moves is so helpful. Like I've done that for myself where I have these various paths, as you can hear, and these various that I wear. And so working with, I think I was using Claude, but like talking to it about my career and just talking about all the things that I'm good at, all the skills that I have, all the interests that I have, and even like non-work related, but like what brings me joy, what do I like to do in my free time, all of these things. Putting that in and then saying, what would be some career paths for me, or what would be some job positions for me, or what are ways that I could bring these two skill sets that I really like doing together.
Mm.
And it's really amazing how it can help you think through, again, these like complex problems, these complex matrixed area of your different skills and your different work desires, and then bring it through to a focused area. So yeah, if you're needing to shift your career or move your career in a different direction, using AI to help you think through that and then think through the steps of, okay, how do I get there? Do I need to augment my education by adding in like a course in this? Or what else do I need to know to be able to pursue this new career path? It's really, really helpful with that.
Yeah, like my LinkedIn's like a head title because I also get through the thing that, for example, I am doing UX UI XR development, and I also teach. It's not necessarily teach in college. I started teaching that last year. So, but all my families are teachers, so
Mm.
that's why I create a YouTube channel to put all my tutorials or content creations. I just like to share what I've learned. For some reason, it's just probably because my family influenced me. So from YouTube channel to more like a real teaching face to face to people. And then I put everything because I have ChatGPT and I put everything, brainstorm all the things. And one time I was like, yeah, who am I? And I asked ChatGPT like, hey, can you give me like a as far as you know me, what do you suggest? Like, who am I? Just like as a question. And later on, like I realized who am I because sometimes we are who we are and we didn't know what our strength, even though we thought we are, but we are not sure. And then I figured out, oh, I like to design, I like to build, and I like to influence or share the knowledge to community, either education. Yeah,
Yeah.
or like a community build. So design, build, and also impact. And I
Mhm.
figured out, wow, this is pretty interesting. As long as I can keep creating and I can keep impacting other people, I think I'm pretty happy. So that that
Exactly.
that's how I also find, and also I think for AI tools, it's I remember I saw like a my TikTok feed or Facebook feed, somebody using Chinese and said that a lot of fortune teller, because in Taiwan, in China, they have a lot of fortune teller. They said that wow, ChatGPT or DeepSeek took off their job because a lot of people wanna using ChatGPT because you see like all the astrologies, like a Chinese way, like I Ching or, like a lot of fortune telling tools. It's more like a probability. And there are a lot of math in it. And it's like, for example, like I was like, yeah, this is interesting. So I put all my, information. I know it's probably not appropriate because ChatGPT
Right.
have everything, but I put it and I asked like oh, what, da, 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 and then it actually runs through all the Chinese website and figure it out and wrote to me in Chinese. And I was like, wow, this is actually much better than you see, like if you need to pay a fortune teller tell you like, oh, what your entire, like structure of your fate or something. Yeah, and I think the ChatGPT provides a very interesting insight. And I saw that the Chinese people said that, oh, a lot of fortune teller lose their client because of that. Strange.
So amazing, all the different industries it's impacting. And yeah, I've done similar things with my astrological chart where I'm like, okay, tell me, like, because you can be very specific. You can be like related to this specific thing that I'm facing in my life right now, and like specific stars in the sky tell me what could be going on. So it's amazing how every area of life is really able to be augmented by.
Yeah, yeah, it is very interesting. Cool. So, what's one thing you'd still like to share that we haven't touched on yet?
That's a great question. We've touched on so many amazing things, and I feel like something else that I'd like to share is maybe it's not a new thing, but it's really a reiteration of how exciting these times are and wanting to instill hope in people. Because I feel like there can be a lot of fear, anxiety, hopelessness, which
Yeah,
I think is warranted in some ways. I mean, people are experiencing losing their jobs or seeing the industry that they were going towards shifting. And yet, at the same time, there are so many more things opening up like we've been talking about all days. It's so many new opportunities. And so really getting in touch in a deeper way, like I was saying, with what you feel the most passionate about, what you feel the most creatively ignited about, and what you feel like you're here to do in life. I feel like in a lot of ways, if something falls away, like with careers, sometimes people just get into a certain track and then they're just going down that track and they're like, oh, I'm doing this thing. So it can be a good pattern interrupt moment collectively that we're having where some things that are more monotonous, yeah, they're gonna not happen anymore. But did you really want to be doing that monotonous task over and over again?
yeah.
Probably not. So what do you feel the most passionate about? What do you feel like your life calling is? And then finding ways to bring that through using the support of these new technologies. I feel like that's what I feel the most excited about. I feel really encouraged in my own life about how I'm able to do things in such a quicker and more productive way and get my unique gifts out there into the world. So I hope that everybody else listening can really feel that too and think about that for their own lives.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree with you because I think right now you see like rather than doing something you don't like, right? It since something you don't like, for example, like a lot of people think, oh, being a lawyer, being a doctor can earn a lot of money. But if you see right now, this thing about I mean, in Shanghai, there is a hospital which has all the AI become the doctor.
Right.
And when I saw that, I was like, wow. And do you trust a robot cut you open? I don't know. And if somebody die, who needs to respond for this?
Right.
Yeah. So there are still a lot of things happening because if you see, I think one of the things that can be automated in medical field is the radiology, like somebody who see the X-ray picture
Right.
because AI can diagnose better. Yeah, because somebody, when it requires a lot of knowledge and image knowledge, which AI is best for. So
Mm.
a lot of uh, things that start changing, and I do think that yeah, if you see like everything, every field is getting impact, then maybe the best thing is to find our true talent and then focus on that and then using AI and make yourself so productive, so efficient, so unique. Yeah, that's probably what, or position ourselves as a fast learner, fast adapter, and problem solver. Yeah.
Yep, that's the era we're moving into now, is being those adaptable learning and critical thinking
Ye-
folks that we all do move that direction more and more.
Yeah. Great. That's it for this episode. Thank you for listening. We release episodes weekly. If you enjoy this conversation, check out our other episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube. Support us by giving us a follow and 5-star rating, or subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Thank you and see you next time.